Let's move on another topic, which is constraints. What is constraint? Constraints are kind of set of rules we use at the time of creating table. So when we are creating table, when we are writing create table query, at that time we have to use constraint. In a database, constraints are rules or conditions that are applied to the data in a table. Constraints ensure the accuracy, integrity, and reliability of the data. Here are crucial roles played by constraints, like crucial roles in maintaining data consistency, preventing data anomalies, preventing data duplicacy, enforcing business rules within a database. So basically what constraints are, when we are creating, suppose we have a student table, select star from students. So in this student, if we want to insert any data, but we don't want to provide data to every column, we only want to provide data to some of the columns, like insert into students SID PT values So when we are providing data, so we provided this data insert into student CID and city. So we provided data only for CID and city column, which is 101 and Mumbai. We provided this data. So what constraint do? It is a set of rules, or you can say it is a set of conditions that are applied at the time of creation of the table. So what we can do when we are creating table, we can apply some rules over there through some queries, because of which when we are trying to insert the data, then we are going to have control over the insertion of the data. Suppose right now, if we didn't provide the values for SNAME, course, city, fee balance, then it's null here. But what will happen if we provide some rules in this by which we can't leave any column null? We must have to provide some values. How to do this? When we provided value right here, then we leave some column as null. We didn't give any value to this. But what if we want to make some condition and rule through which no one is going to be able to provide or leave any column blank? They must have to insert some value. So these are the conditions, these are the rules that we can achieve through using constraint. This is what constraint do. It is used to enforce business rules within the database. In the database, constraints are rules or conditions that are applied to the data in the table. They ensure the accuracy, integrity, and reliability of data. Suppose if we make this condition and make this rule that no one can leave any column blank, they must have to provide some values. So where we can make this kind of rule? So we have to make this rule, this condition at the time when we are creating the table, so no one can leave any column null. In other words, we are applying a business logic that if you are providing value, then you must have to provide the city from where you are. You can't leave this column null. This is the logic, business logic that we want to apply in our database. Suppose we have the column of phone number. We want to tell everyone that you must have to provide your phone number, or you can't get the right to insert any data. You will not be able to insert the data. If you are going to provide the phone number, then you are going to, or then your data is going to be inserted. Otherwise your data is not going to be inserted. Likewise, we can make some other kind of rules, like someone is inserting the data, then their fee paid must have to be more than 10,000. If someone is inserting any data who have fee paid less than 10,000, then they are not going to able to insert the data. So this is the condition, this is the business logic that we are going to provide over this table. So where and when we are going to provide this condition, when we are going to make this rule, we have to make this rule, this business logic, at the time when we are creating this data. Suppose right now we didn't make any rules, any conditions, so we are able to provide null values. We can even provide fee paid less than 10,000. But at the time of creation of the table, if we make this kind of rules that no one can provide fee balance less than 10,000, no one can leave any column null, then now at this time we will not able to leave this column null. So we have to provide this rule, make any rules, any regulations, the business logics, you can say conditions at the time of creation of the table. So this is what constraint do. So for making different type of rules, different type of business logics, we have different type of constraint. Here are common types of constraint. Suppose we don't want to leave any column null. You must have to provide the value when you are using insert statement. Suppose suppose different user is here on my computer and he is trying to insert some data. So I want him to didn't leave any column as null. Then I am going to use this constraint. We are going to see where to use and how to write this, but here is the constraint, not null. When we are using to use this not null constraint, this rule, then no one is going to leave any column null. They must have to provide the value in column. If we are going to use the unique constraint, then everyone has to provide a unique value. Suppose in city we have duplicate values, like Noida we have 3 times, we have multiple times, Delhi are multiple times, we have Pune 2 times. If we want the values in the city to be only unique, no one can provide the duplicate. Suppose the SID, so the SID for everyone has to be unique. If there is the office, so ID of every employee have to be unique. There is no chance for the duplicacy. There must be no employee who is holding duplicate ID as of the other employees. So at that time, to make this SID column unique, so whenever you are inserting data, the column, the data that you are inserting in SID at the place of SID has to be column. That doesn't have to be exist previously. So for this type of logic, we are going to use unique constraint. For default constraint, what does it mean? If we are going to leave any column null, we are not going to provide a value, then by using this default constraint, the value there is automatically going to be something that we are going to set at the time of creation of this constraint. We are going to see how we will able to do that. And by using check constraint, what we can use, we can use this check constraint at the time of making conditions. Suppose we want to make conditions that if the person is living in Noida, then only he will be able to input or insert the data in our table. So this type of logic, or maybe if someone is inserting phone number, suppose there is a column for phone number and we are inserting phone number like this, insert into student value phone will be column values. Suppose we want to make the constraint, the logic, that if we are inserting values in our table, so at the time of inserting values in phone column, the value must have to be of 10 digit. If we are inserting value in the phone column in our table, then this must have to be 10 digit. It can't exceed 10 digit. It can't be lower than 10 digit. It must have to be of 10 digit. So we can create this type of rule, this type of condition, this type of business logic, business rule using check constraint. So how to make this type of logic, this type of rules that is going to prevent us from providing the wrong values in our table. And what is this primary key constant, foreign key constant? We will go through this both later. So this is what constant do. It is a kind of a rule, condition, or business logic that we apply at the time of creation of the table. When we are creating table, create table student, at that time we have to provide these logics. And to provide these logics, we have different type of constraint. If we don't want anyone to provide null values or leave any field as null, they must have to provide value. They can't leave any column as null. Then we are going to use null constant. We can use unique constant for something like SID. We can use default constant. If someone is leaving any column, then there have to be some values by default which is going inside the column. We are going to use check constant to provide examples like phone number. If someone is providing phone number values inside phone number column, then the total value have to be of 10 digits, not less, not much. So let's see further. Let's see every type of constraint one by one. When you are not supplying any value for the column, then null will be inserted by default. Null will be inserted by default like this. Null means value is not available. Null doesn't mean 0 or something else. It just show that in this field, this cell is 0. It's null. There is no value. Null is not equivalent to null or space or 0 or any other characters. If you don't want null value for any column, or if you want to force the user who is inserting the value to supply values for given column, then you can use not null constraint for that column. So constraint is going to be applied on column. When we are creating table, at the creation of table, at the time of creation of table, we are going to apply these rules, which we say constraint. So here is not null constraint. If you don't want null value for any column, or if you want to force the user to supply value for given column, then you can use not null constraint for that column. For example, at the time of creating the table, suppose create table customer 1, PID, column name, type, size, and then we are going to write not null. Again, next column, data type, size, then we are going to write the constant, which is not null constant. Again, for email column, column name, data type, size, the constant, not null. For phone number, we are not applying not null, which means we can apply not null constant for multiple columns at a time in a table. Not null constant can be used for multiple column of some table, same table. Even if you go back and see that how to create the table, then at that time there is a constant in the syntax. Creating the table. So here is the column name, data type, size, and the constant, but we didn't talk about this constant at that time because we don't know what is that at that time, and at that time this is not suitable to talk about the constant. So we are working step by step. So now we are providing constraint. So how to create the table? Again, create table name, column name, data type, size, and then the constraint. Then we can add another column with data type, size, and constant. And this is how we make table. Let's go back to the constant type of constant page, not null constant. So where is not null constant? This is practice lab 1. Thereafter practice lab 2. We already completed practice lab 1 and practice lab 2. Not null constant. So this is how you create. You can provide number of not null constant in a column in the same table. Unique constant. By default, you can insert duplicate values in any column, like in this fiable column or maybe in city column. We can provide duplicate values. Noida, Pune, Delhi, again Noida, Delhi, Mumbai. If we want unique values for any column, then you can use unique constant. What was the example for this? We talked about SID or ID in any company. Every employee must have unique ID. So we have to apply this unique constant in that type of field. So like in SID, we can provide in SID, CID, suppose we can provide not null constant as well as unique constant. We can also provide combination of two constants. So the value, when we are inserting value, then that value cannot be null. We can't leave the CID value and proceed further. We have to provide some values in CID. What will happen if we don't provide values where we have not null constant? Then that query is not going to get executed. This will happen. So in unique constant, if we want CID to be a unique, then we are using unique constant. We can apply it on first place, and then we can use not null, or we can write not null first, then we can use unique constant. For CNAME, not null. For email constant, email cannot be left behind. We have to provide some value, and that should also be unique. Suppose there are 5 employees, so everyone should have their own email address. That's why here is unique. Phone number. Phone number is also going to be unique for employees, every employees. Balance, we don't provide balance. In balance, any constant. Column specified with unique constant. Suppose for CID or SID, column specified with unique constant cannot have duplicate values, but can have many null in the column. Like if we are using unique constant in phone number column, suppose here is a phone number column and we are using unique constant, then if we don't provide value in that phone number column, then there is not going to be any issue. That can be null. We can have many null. But if we provide a value in the phone number column, that should be unique. But what will happen if we are going to provide 2 constant after phone number? Suppose here is not null and unique both, like this one or this one. Then for phone number, if we have 2 constants, not null and unique, then we can't leave the column phone number null. We must have to provide phone number, and also that can be duplicate. They must have to be also unique. So for making phone number unique, we are going to use unique constant, and also if we use not null, then we can't leave that column blank. This is what unique constant says. We can have multiple null values if we use unique, but if we also use not null, then we can't leave it blank. Unique column specified with unique constant cannot have duplicate values, but can have many null values. Unique constant can be used for multiple columns of the same table. We can have unique constant used with multiple columns in the same table. Unique constant can be used in combination with not null also, like this. We can use both this constant in a same column. Next one is primary key constant. So what is primary key constant? When you apply primary key, then both unique and not null constant will be applied on the column. Table should be containing only one primary key. Primary key is mainly used to identify the record uniquely in that table. So likewise here in CID, we are providing not null as well as unique. So for every employee in the company, ID must have to be unique, and this ID also can't be null. There should be some data. So for doing that, we are providing not null constant and unique constant in combination. But what we can do, instead of using these both constant in combination, we can use primary key constant. Primary key, we can write primary key here instead of these both. So what will happen with primary key? Primary key is the combination of not null constant as well as unique constant. If we use primary key with SID at the time of creation of table, then we can't leave at the time of insertion value, we can't leave ID blank. We have to provide some values, and also we can't provide duplicate values. Suppose we provided 101, then in next insertion we have to provide new values. We can't provide 101 again. So to achieve this, we can use not null and unique in combination, or we can use directly primary key. It is the combination of not null constant as well as unique constant. But table should have only one primary key. In one table, we can only use one primary key. Suppose we are going to use primary key right here, then we can't use primary key also with email. If we use primary key with SID, we can't use primary key with suppose city. But we can achieve same type of functionality. Suppose we use primary key with CID, but also in email we want it not to be have null values as well as we want every email to be unique. Then we can't use primary key right here because we already have used primary key with one column in a table, customer 2. What we have to do, we can use not null and unique in the combination. So we can use not null and unique in the combination with multiple columns, but if we are using primary key, then we can have only one primary key in a table on any column. Table should contain only one primary key. Primary key is mainly used to identify the record uniquely in the table. Likewise, every employee in the company is going to have unique ID. So it is used to identify those employees uniquely. We have two types of primary key: simple primary key, composite primary key. Simple primary key, when you specify the primary key for single column of a table, then it is called as simple primary key. So with PID we provided primary key. So this is a simple primary key. But what is composite primary? So when you specify primary key for combination of two or more columns of a table, then it is called as composite primary key. Suppose we are using primary key, we provided CID primary key, but we want CID as well as email to be a primary key. Means these both CID and email are not going to have null values, and both of them have to be unique. So for doing that, we can provide the primary key in the combination, and the syntax for that is like this. After the column, after making every column, when we are creating table, in the last we are going to write primary key, and in bracket we are selecting columns, suppose BID and SID. So on both these columns we are providing primary key. So in BID as well as SID we can't provide duplicate values, and we also can't left it as null. So when we are making a single column primary key, then it is called as simple primary key. But if we are making primary key on the combination of two columns, suppose CID and CNAME, then it is going to be called as composite primary key. The syntax for simple primary key, we are simply going to write primary key after the column, and when we want combination of columns as primary key, which is composite primary key, then at the last of columns at the time of creation of table, we are going to write primary key and going to bind those columns in the bracket. We can also have third column right here after comma. So this is how you make composite primary key. There is some example. Okay, suppose we created a table SID int cname and phone number, and we provided composite primary key. Primary key, SID and phone number is in combination with primary key. It is a composite primary key because we are applying primary key on two column of this stud111 table. So when we are inserting a data, we inserted a data, then we again inserted 101 this data, and again when we are trying to insert the value same as SID, which is SID, and of phone number, because the primary key is of SID and phone number, then it is giving error, duplicate entry. Let's go through this again. We provided SID, name and phone. Then again we provided SID, name and phone. But SID is duplicate 101 and 101, but it is not giving any error. Why? Because the composite key, which is primary composite key, is in combination. So both these two values, the values inside both these columns have to be duplicate. If one is duplicate and one is different, like this, one is duplicate, one is same and another one is different, then it's not giving error. But when both is duplicate, both is same, then it's giving duplicacy error. So both values inside the composite primary key have to be duplicate. Foreign key. Foreign key constraint is mainly used to establish the relationship between two or more tables. Foreign key constraint is mainly used to establish relationship between two or more tables. The table which contain main information is called as master table. The table which contains related information is called as child table. When you are inserting the information in child table, then related information will be verified in parent table. When you are deleting the information from parent table, then related information from child also should be verified. If we are trying to delete from master table, first, then we have to delete from child. What this means? Let's understand the foreign key with the help of example. Suppose we already have the students table, and then we are going to create another table which is going to called as child. So let's create the table. Create table child, column name ID of type int, name char with 10, again suppose course char of 15, 15. So how to implement foreign key? So first we have one table, a student, and then we are creating another table. So at the time of creating another table, what we have to do in last, we have to write foreign key. Then we are going to select ID, one column from this table, references, then the table name is students, and the column name from student. So spelling of reference. Here is the mistake. So why it's giving error? So the thing that you have to understand, then whenever you are using foreign key, the master table have to be one primary key column, on which basis we are going to make child table. Let's understand with the given example right here. So let's create a table. Create suppose create table my customer PID in 3 primary key. So if we provided primary key for a CID, which means now we have to provide CID value, we can't leave it null, and we also can't provide same values, duplicate values in CID. Rename, and in one table primary key should be have to be with only one column. We can't provide primary key on CNAME again. I'm making the exact same table right here, by which we are going to see the foreign key constant, how it works. Next column is city, and where so first table is got, so first table get created. Let's create the second table. Primary key again, a type, varchar type 10, not null, constant, branch, varchar 10, not null, constant, balance, varchar 10, and then we are going to use foreign key constant. The foreign key constant syntax is also going to be at last, like composite primary key. We are going to write foreign key my CID reference as my account PID. What is this foreign key? So using foreign key, we are establishing relationship between two tables. The table that one we are creating right now, and we are connecting this table. We are establishing relationship with the my customer table that we have already created. So using foreign key, my CID of this table that we are creating, and we are establishing references my accounts, my customer's CID. This have to be my customer's CID. So here we already created our my customer table which have CID, and then again we are creating my accounts table, and we are using foreign key here. So what foreign key basically do is it will establish a relationship between two tables. How? In foreign key, after this balance table, balance column, while creating this table, in foreign key, we are providing my CID, this column, and which is references my customer table and CID. So we are establishing relationship between the my CID column of my accounts table and CID column of my customers table. So this is how we use foreign. We are establishing relationship between two tables, and within these two tables, we are establishing relationship of the my CID column and the CID column from my accounts and my customers. So from my account, we are selecting my CID column, and from my customers, which is there, we are selecting this CID column, and we are establishing relationship between my CID and CID. So here is the row created. Let's see. My accounts. Now what next? How it actually works. Suppose we have some data in my customers. Let's insert data. Insert into my customers. Values. The ID is 101. The name is Tom. City is Pune. Another value is 102. Raj. City is Delhi. Another value is 103. Kumar. NYC. Insert into. We inserted these 3 rows in my customers. So when we are, so now when if we try to insert values in my accounts with which we used foreign key, here we used foreign key at the time of creation of my account, and we linked my CID column with the column CID of my customer. So if we are trying to add the value in my accounts, and if we are trying to insert the value in 104 and account number is suppose something, and a type is account type is obviously branch is Delhi, and balance is 88. So it's not going to take this value and put it in my accounts, because what it says, cannot add or update a child row, a foreign key constant fail. Why this is showing? Because what happened when we create my account table, we connected the my CID column with the CID column of my customer. So the my customer table becomes the parent table, or you can say the master table, and the my account table become the child table, because this is the table with which we used foreign key. So we establish a relationship between these two tables, and within this table we establish a relationship between CID and my CID. So we are not going to be able to provide the values in my account. Why? And when we are going to provide the values, we are going to be able to provide the values when we are going to use the exact values which are inside this CID. So inside CID, select star from my customers. We have 101, 102, 103, and we connected the CID with my CID of my accounts. So if the value is present in master table, my account, and inside that in CID, because we choose CID as a foreign key right here, then by using that values, we can insert the value inside the my accounts, which is child table. So if we change this my CID to any one of these 101, 102 or 103, then it will take this data. But instead of that, if we are going to use any data which is not present in parent table CID, parent table column CID, then we will not be able to insert the data in our my accounts, which is child table. So here it takes the value. Let's see. Select star from my account. If we are going to try to provide anything else rather than these three, which is from parent table, then it's not going to accept these values. Suppose if we provide 1, then it is going to accept the value. It didn't accept 1. Goes to duplicate entry for key my account primary key. What it is saying? Duplicate entry for key my accounts primary key, because we have used primary key with account column, so we can't enter duplicate keys, duplicate value in my account. So let's change this, and this one is available in master table CID column, so it's going to accept this. Select star from my accounts it is accepting. So this is what foreign key used to provide. We can establish a relationship between two columns, and those two columns are in two different tables. The one that we used to provide reference, like we used my customer table to provide reference to the my CID of my account table, then that table is going to be called as master table, and to which we provided, like we provided my CID, which is in my accounts. So the my accounts will become the child table. So another thing here is, if we try to delete the value from the my customers table, which is master table, delete, then it got deleted. Let's check, is it available in my customers right now or not? It got deleted. Is it available in my accounts? Yes, this is available in my accounts. Let's delete something from my accounts. My accounts. So this is not deleting because here we have my CID. So it got deleted. Let's delete something from my customer where CID is 103. So it's not going to get deleted because right now we have 103 of my customers is binded with the value which is present in my accounts 103. So now to delete from my customers, first we have to delete the value from the child table. Then we will become able to delete from the my account, my customers. Where my CID accounts. Now we can delete from my customer also. So let's get to the notes. What it says. Suppose there is a master table. So the one which we created first is a master table, and with which we used foreign key is a child table. Suppose there is a master table and have 100 child. Is that we are leaving anything? Yes, this one. Foreign key constraint is mainly used to establish the relationship between two or more tables that we saw here. The table which contain main information is called main master table. The first one was the master table, and the with which we used the foreign key is the child table. The table which contain related information is called a child table. When you are inserting the information in child table, that data inside that table in child table must have to be present in parent table or master table. Then the child table will accept the values. When you are inserting the information in child table, then related information will be verified from the parent table. So those values first must have to be present in the master table or parent table. When you are deleting the information from parent table, then first those related information must have to be get deleted from the child table. Otherwise, if there is a relationship established and the value inside the child table is present and we are trying to delete it from the master table, then we will not become able to delete those values. First, we have to delete from child table, then we can delete from master table. If we are trying to delete from master table, then first we have to delete from the child table. Suppose there is a master table and have 100 child tables, and on the basis of one primary key there are 100 foreign key in 100 tables. So if we want to delete records from master table, then first we have to delete values from all the 100 child tables. So for this problem we have something called delete cascade that can help us at that situation, but we are not going to see that right here. Let's move on different topic. So basically foreign key is, that's all there is. We can establish a relationship between two tables, and even we saw this broadly, we can establish the relationship between two columns from two different tables. If we want to populate some value in child table, then first that value have to be in parent table or master table. If you want to delete something from master table, then those values must have to be first deleted from the child table. Then you can delete from master table, or else it is going to give error. So this is foreign key. Let's move on the check constant. What is check constant? Let's move on the check constant, and then we are going to use default constant. So for check constant, suppose we have table students. So if we are providing values like fee paid, and we want to check and we want to prevent the insertion of the value of less than 10,000, then we are going to bind the check constant with the fee paid column when we are creating the student table. But right now student table is already been created. Let's create another table called, suppose, students 2. Create table student 2 PID int and suppose cname char of type and 10 in size. Now when we are providing value in PID, or let's say P, when we are going to insert the value in fee, then that value must have to be higher than 10,000, or else the value is not going to get accepted. That query will not get accepted. So for doing that, we will use check constant. We are going to write check with the column and then open the bracket, or we are not going to write here, we are going to write it and last, like we used to write composite primary key or foreign key in the last. Let's say check P have to be greater than or is equal to 10,000. So we created our table. Let's try to insert value, insert into student to values and if we provide suppose 500 and in name Tom, then it's not going to take. Check constant is violated. Let 50,000. Now our value got inserted. So this is how check constant works. You can provide check constant in last like we do with primary key, composite primary key or foreign key, or you can also provide after the column with which we want to provide the check constant. So both will work. Let's move on. Default constant. Even if you are not providing value for some columns, the default value is going to be the default value that we are going to set. Let's make another table. Suppose student 3. And suppose this time we will provide check constant right here. Check P is greater than or is equal to suppose 100. And with CNAME, we will provide default constant. So we are going to write default, then Kumar. So our table got created. Let's insert some value. Insert into students 3 values. If we are going to provide lower than 100, and if we are going to provide some values right here, like so, for the CNAME, then of course it is going to give error. Constant is violated because here is the check constant. We can't provide value less than 100. So let's provide 200. So query is okay. Let's start from 10, 3. So we got 200 and so on. But to see the example for default constant, what we are going to do, we are not going to provide any values this time to this column CNAME. And let's see, is it going to give any error? Yes, it is giving error. So let's do this in this way. PID. We are providing value for not CID, for P, and we are not providing value for CNAME. So what will happen right now? If we didn't provide default constant, then the CNAME is going to be null, but at this time it's not going to be null. It's going to be Kumar because we used default constant. If we are not going to provide any value for the CNAME column, then by default it is going to be Kumar. That's what default constant is. So till now we have walked through all the constant, and we also did examples for most of the constant. I think the first one for this one, not null constant and unique constant, we didn't do any example for this. or maybe we did. Let's try. Let's do the example for both of these, because we did example for foreign key constant, for default constant, check key constant. Let's do the example for both of these. So what we have to do, we have to create table, because we have to use the constant at the time of creation of the table. That's what constant is all about. We have to use the constant at the creation of the table to provide business logic or rules or conditions on the insertion of the table. So let's create table student 4. We have name char. Now with char we are providing size, and we don't want char to be null. So we are going to write not null. Again, this is not case sensitive, so we can write not null in uppercase as well as lowercase. In first, let's provide id. With id, in id have to be unique for every student, and this also must, and this also don't have to be null, or it can have been null, because maybe some student. So no, it must have to be not null. So we are going to use not null. What else we can create? Suppose roll number. Roll number also can't be null or unique or duplicate. So instead of using unique and not null constant in combination, we are going to use primary key right here. Primary key means we can't provide duplicate values, as well as we can't leave it as null. So with roll we have to provide type. Our table got created. So it also shows the fields are, the columns are id, name and null. In id, it's of type int, name is of type char, roll is of type int, and in all of this we can't provide null values. This is primary key, there is unique key, null is not allowed in any of these cases. So if we try to insert into students for values, for id, suppose 101, name is going to be Tom, and roll is have to be also unique, and it also can't be null. So our value got inserted. If we are providing suppose same value again, then it is going to give the duplicacy error, duplicate entry. Suppose we are providing different values, but we are not providing values for name. We are only providing values for some column, which is id and roll. We are not providing values for name, but here with name column we use not null, so it can't be null. It's going to give error, doesn't have a default value. So this is how the constant works. student 4. What happened? So this is the constant. It is a set of rule. It is a guideline or condition, or you can say business logic that we provide at the time of creation of the table. So when someone is inserting values, they have to be aware of what they are inserting, or we are enforcing that people to insert the right value. You can't, we are telling him that you can't leave this column null, you can't provide duplicate values. So this is the way to provide business logic to prevent data anomalies. Let's say what else. So next topic may have to be join.